All right, today we have a wonderful guest, one of our dear friends, Dr. Sanethia Thomas.
Yay.
Dr. Thomas
Ooh,
was born in East Chicago, Indiana, and raised in Palmdale, California. Currently, she's an assistant instructional professor at the University of Florida, where I met her. We'll get into that a little later. Her bachelor's degree is from in information technology from the University of Texas El-Paso. She has a master's of science in youth development leadership from Clemson University and a Ph.D. in human-centered computing from the University of Florida. Her research really focused on combining her tech skills with her athletic experiences, where she's been able to actually start her own company called Second Shot and a nonprofit organization called Athletes Succeed in Sport and Life. She is a first generation college student grad and the third African American woman to graduate from the University of Florida in her discipline. And she's chartering research in computer science and athlete development. During her graduate studies, she is a National Science Foundation Fellow and a GEM Fellow. She's been recognized by tons of different organizations like the Edward A. Boucher Graduate Honor Society, Pi Kappa Pi Honor Society, the National Center for Women in Information Technology, one of our sponsors, woo woo,
Yay.
and the National Academy of Inventors. She was also selected as the speaker, the student speaker for the College of Engineering's graduation here at the University of Florida when she was finishing her degree. Beyond that, she's also played USA International Women's Basketball, where she toured Belgium and Amsterdam, and she's got lots of stories about being an athlete. Um, Between some of her degrees, she actually went and worked in the workplace, and so she has experience not just from that, but also as a student doing internships with companies like Accenture, AOL, Robbins Joya, Community Development Corporation, and Intel. She also serves as a mentor for various youth organizations, and this doesn't even begin to scratch the surface of some of the stuff that she's been able to do on our campus, kind of transforming opportunities for students to get into computing and into tech. So, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Wow.
I'm so excited.
Wow. No, thank you.
yes.
That was pretty good. I'm like, I need to record that. The interjection was
It's
nice.
recorded, so you can take it and like
Yep.
make it a little highlight reel for your
Yeah.
life.
But before we start, I just want to thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, Kyla, for even hosting this platform to showcase women. So I know
Thank
you
you.
are featuring me, but I just want to say thank you to rock
Yeah,
stars.
thank
Absolutely.
you.
Yeah.
We trying to do the work.
Yeah.
Everybody has
Yeah.
their role.
Mm-hmm. It's just it's our passion. This is our passion
Mm-hmm.
project.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I just want to say before we get started, I remember when I first met Sanethia, we
Mm-hmm.
were at Clemson
Yeah.
before we got to UF. And I just remember Sanethia just being this ball of just
Yeah.
energy and like, look, this isn't even my major, but I'm going to switch into computing. I'm going to figure this out. What do I need to
Yeah.
do? Like, if I had to give you a title, it would be like a lifelong learner because I'm like, I don't
Mm.
even know
Yeah.
if I would be able to make all those context switches and jumps.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you've had so much experience and then coming back to
Yeah.
school, I'm like, Sanithia is like the most interesting grad student in that you have so much experience in so many things, but you don't like laud it over people's
Nope.
heads. Like, look, I've been there, I've done
Yeah.
that. Come look at me. Like, you're always willing to learn, willing to, just get your hands
Mm-hmm.
dirty and figure things out. And I've always
Oh,
admired
well,
that
thank
about you.
you. That's funny because I do consider myself as a lifelong learner. Sometimes people are like, when are you going to graduate? Yeah, I've graduated already. But people that are not really in this space don't really understand. They think you're just a lifetime student. And I kind of flip it and say, aren't
Mm.
we all supposed to be
That's
lifetime
real.
students? So,
Right. Because if you're not, you're
Yes.
stagnant.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So I've had different career paths. Well, this is officially my second career path. Um,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
uh, and it's great. I wouldn't be any other place. So I'm glad I'm here.
Well, since we're talking about
Yeah.
it, I feel like when I think of you, I think of like the word humility.
Mm. Wow.
And I think a lot of people aren't willing to like accept like I need to learn this because I
Mm-hmm.
need to grow in this space. And you do that well. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people when they're running into like adversity,
Mm-hmm.
they don't know what to do with that. They get upset,
Yeah.
they have an attitude about it or whatever. That's not you.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Right.
Thank
anyways,
you. I mean, y'all try
what
to
did
make
that
a sister
cost you in your
cry
childhood?
No,
already.
it's the truth. It's the truth. Like before we get into your story, like we just need you to
Oh,
know
thank
that it's
you.
just the
Yeah, you
truth.
over here giving us our flowers. You
I
so
know, right?
too.
Thanks.
It's a flower
Yeah,
parade.
yeah. That's awesome. Thank you.
So
But yeah, go ahead, Jeremy.
we know that, you had an amazing family environment.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want to
Yes.
talk about that, like
Yes.
how that has helped you
Mm-hmm.
become the woman that you are today. So
Yeah.
what was it like growing up for real though in like
Mm-hmm.
California? Because you didn't really live
In
a long
Chicago.
time.
In Chicago.
The formative years.
Yeah, that story, that question is so heavy when you say I have a lot of support in my family. My family is big, it's rich, it's very supportive. So my mom, she was the baby of 10. And
Mm.
yeah, and when I was 4, her brother, which is number 5, he was in California, and he was in the military, Air Force, and everything. And so he had been married 20 years, and they decided to have a child. And so his wife Linda gave birth to Jason, and then passed away as soon as she gave birth. So that was when I was 4. My mother was going through a hard divorce at the time. So he called and was like, let's raise the children together. Such a beautiful story. So my mother moved from East Chicago, and her sister right above her went with her. Some people will say she tagged along, but she'll probably listen to this and get on me. But so I was raised in a household with my mom, my aunt, my uncle, and my cousin Jason. And it was beautiful. So that was like the first
Mhm.
14 years of my life in California. So I would always go back for the summers to East Chicago, and it was just different. Oh, you're such a white girl. You talk white, and da 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 da. Because I had a different environment. But I'm so
Right.
thankful
Yeah.
for the opportunities that came because I was uprooted out of East Chicago and was put in a better environment, better learning environment, better schools, better opportunities. And so my uncle, who is everything to me, my hero, he pretty much introduced me to who I am in life. So everything that I am in life, I now say it's because of my uncle and because of Wine Gilbert, right? So we'll get to Wine Gilbert as well. But yeah, so that was kind of how I ended up in California, and I could just continue to talk. So played sports all my life. Actually, my mom
Hmm.
wanted me to be a ballerina. So I went to gymnastics.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh
and I
wow.
was wasting her money because I just sat there. I would tumble and I would just sat there on the floor. And then my uncle came home and gave me a basketball, and the rest was history. Right. So
That was
yeah,
it.
he put up a
Wow.
little hoop in front of on top of the garage, and so I was the first uh, woman, or at the time child, to play in this tournament. And so it was like a small AAU tournament for like younger people. And they were not going to let my team play. So we made it to the finals, and they were like, she can't play because, she's a female. This is all boys team. This was in
Wow.
Bakersfield,
So
California.
rude.
And so I was, of course, um, I don't want to say, of course, the star of the team. You just said how humble I was, but I was really
I mean,
good.
if you
So,
know
yeah,
your
yeah. So
skills, you
yeah,
know your
We're talking
skills.
about the community that you were
yeah.
from. So,
So
it might be a little
my
obvious.
aunt, the one that tagged along, she was like, if she is not gonna play, nobody's playing. I'm gonna shut this whole tournament down. So
Oh,
Come
they
on,
ended up
Aunt.
allowing me to play, and we won the championship and everything like that. So I was the
Wow.
only
ball is
girl
life.
in that entire tournament and got down to the
I just have a
finals. Oh,
question.
okay.
Were you like really tall then too?
Yes, I was.
Because you're
Yeah,
tall.
and I got teased for being tall. Yeah,
Oh,
all the time.
Because they
I
some
think we all
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
did.
yeah, all of us
We're
are
all like
tall. So
giants.
I was towering
yeah, I got
over
tall
all of the
early.
young boys on the team.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I played all the sports growing up, but basketball was my main one, was my ticket that got me and paved the way for me for education. Um, but
Okay.
yeah,
My mom just told me I was terrible at basketball the other day, and I was like, no, I wasn't. Like, what are we talking about here?
Oh, I was
yeah,
bad.
She's
I
so.
had no aim. I
yeah,
was bad.
I hope she listens to this too. I was not bad.
yeah.
You know she will.
I just didn't listen. I just didn't like. Okay, so I had to stop doing contact sports because there's like an anger in me
I get it.
when
That
I
someone,
is
get
you
it.
know what I
unleashed.
Yeah,
mean? Like, don't.
yeah,
I know that I'm big, right?
hmm,
Like, big
yeah,
in terms of size. So like, that doesn't mean you get like free license to like elbow
hmm.
me, push
Right.
me, step on. You know, like
Because we
that's
gonna
not
have
how it's
Right,
gonna
examples.
right,
work.
right, right.
So
Right.
that's maybe in that way I
Yeah,
wasn't good at basketball.
yeah,
You needed to work out
I
yeah.
did.
some
I had
stuff.
to get the aggression out another way. But yeah,
Wow.
I
real
No, I
life.
was
You
not
didn't
good.
play, Kyla? You didn't play basketball?
No, I
Oh,
tried to. I was definitely on the
yeah,
basketball team, but I was terrible. Like I could not take any shots. I could get the rebounds, I could
yeah.
pass, but she was like, just don't. If you start looking at the basket, just don't.
You
I
know
was
what sport
bad.
I
Like I
was
didn't
bad
have
at?
any aim.
Volleyball.
Oh,
Were you good at volleyball?
I played volleyball.
Yeah, volleyball was
Hmm.
cool. It was just bad on my knees. I was like,
Yeah,
oh, damn.
I remember one story my
I was
mom
like, I
told me.
can't do this sport.
She said I had my volleyball uniform on top of my basketball uniform because I had two games right back to back.
Yeah,
So you was just
Yep.
gonna switch
Hmm.
from, but my sport was
Okay.
softball. Like since I was
Okay.
tall, I was on the corners,
I
so
could
first and
totally see
third,
that.
and I also
Okay.
pitched.
Okay.
So I was the catcher sometimes. So always
Yeah.
infield. Outfield was bad. I feel like it's an aim thing. You have to like run in the direction that
Hmm.
the ball's
Hmm.
going, and it's like sometimes it gets to a point where you're like, it's
Yeah.
continuing to rise. It might be popping straight up and going down, or it might be
Yeah.
going over my head, and I cannot judge at
Okay.
this point.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
But I'm good infield. I can play any
Okay.
position.
Okay.
Outfield,
I
forget
was I
it.
was catcher for
I was a
softball.
rower.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, catcher is hard because you got to
Yeah.
protect the plate.
Yeah.
I can't be on the ground. Y'all are doing a
But
lot.
it was
I was rowing
Not
boats. That's
on
what
the
I was
ground.
doing.
you was rowing boats.
Anyways,
Oh,
yeah, yeah. I
nice.
rowed. That was my sport.
Wow.
I have a
That's
rower that I
awesome.
should probably
Yeah.
use. That's in here.
Yeah.
But yeah, whole
But
body
back to
workout.
Sanethia.
Yeah.
so so you mentioned the influence of sports in your early life, but were there any sort of like tech leanings at that time? Because you did
Mm.
eventually go and get a bachelor's in information technology. So was there, what sparked that? Were there some
Yeah.
influences early?
So when I knew I wanted to go to college, and my mom was like, "I don't have the money for college," and I was like, "It's okay because I'll get a basketball scholarship," and that's what happened. So I got a basketball scholarship,
Oh,
and I was like, "Okay." Unfortunately, at that time, the WNBA wasn't even formed. So I had it in my
mm,
mind I was going to be the first WNBA player, but there was no WNBA. I was going to be the first NBA player. There was no WNBA. Anyways, so that didn't happen, and I was like, okay, I guess I got to pick a major because I have to major in something. I mean, I've always like played around with video games and electronics, and I was always the one fixing things. But I really didn't
mm,
have the educational background or support that students normally have in high school, the courses to be able to go straight into computer science. So I figured I'll go the information technology route. And then kind of fast forward, I've always excelled in school. So after I graduated, I ended up working for AOL, which I always like to test my students and like, have you guys heard of AOL?
I was just about to say that. Like, we might have some listeners that have no idea what AOL is.
America Online. And so that number just dwindles down every semester of people who's heard of it. And so
no.
I kind of compare it to Google back in the day. AOL was that tech
Hmm.
giant, the dial up
And you had to get the internet in
Yes.
the mail.
Yeah, yeah. And then you had to wait for it to dial up and you're just
Yeah.
I
waiting
hear it. I
there.
hear it.
You just sitting
So
there making all the noises and
yeah, yeah.
freestyling.
Freestyle.
Yeah, and just
Did you make up little ditties to the tone?
No, I was just
mm,
singing it because it had the
yeah,
same pattern.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Dun,
it did.
dun, dun, dun,
Yeah,
dun.
yeah. So that was actually like a
Exactly.
cool place to work, AOL. Just really cool. So after I graduated, and I knew I wasn't going to the league, then I interned with AOL, and that was cool. So they brought me on, and I ended up being a data capacity manager. Yeah,
That's
What did you
cool.
do? Like, what
I
kind of work were you?
monitored the resources and allocation of space for data for
Mm.
programs, and it was boring.
Mm.
it was
Does not sound like something I would want to do, but
it
yeah.
was I mean the money was great, but it was like not fun at all. And so I ended up working in HR at AOL. So I
Mm.
made that transition to
Hmm.
HR, and I was over the internship program, and so that was really cool. And then
Hmm.
I made the jump to Robbins Joya based off of money, in which I advise people not to do because fulfillment really doesn't come. You should always follow your passion, right? So the money will come, but I made the jump to Robbins Joya, and I was writing I was writing plans, strategic plans for the government.
Mm. Wow. Did you like that more or
No,
no?
so I was waking up every morning unfulfilled, right? And but
Yeah.
it's a dilemma because a lot of people do make that decision because of money. So they're making money in a place, but they're not fulfilled and they're not excited. So um, yeah, I was just going in. I would go in about 11, leave about 3, and take a 2 hour lunch. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, this is not working for me. But I was good
I
at
don't
it.
need to
Shouldn't
be
be
here.
here.
I was
Yeah.
good. And so the 2008 recession happened and I got laid off.
Oh
Yeah,
wow. So they made you
yeah,
leave. Like
yeah.
you did not
I
have a
got laid
choice.
off and I was like, what do I want to do in life? I have about 2 years to kind of figure it out because they gave me 2 years severance. And
Oh,
so,
that's great.
That's nice.
yeah, I was working in ministry, working at my church, youth pastor there, youth minister. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go and get my master's in youth development leadership. So I know Jeremy was reading off my bachelor's of information technology. How did you make that jump? That's how I made the jump. And it was like, I have a clean slate. What do I want to do? So
Hmm.
researched, and Clemson was the top school offering youth development leadership. And I was like, bet. And it was online. I was like, bet. So I didn't have
Perfect.
to leave, although I did end
Right.
up moving there my last year. And so I
Hmm.
got my master's in youth development leadership. I could
That's
continue
cool.
if you
That's
want me to
cool.
continue.
Yeah,
Oh,
keep
okay, okay,
going.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, let's.
So
We
then
like a
what
story.
happened?
Right. So then I saw, oh, this is great because I watched the movie 12 Years a Slave. Have you all seen that movie?
Hmm.
So I watched that movie, and in the Masters of Science Youth Leadership program, we were a cohort. So after I saw that movie, I went back to my cohort and I was like, we are all going to get our PhDs. We are all going to get it. We're getting our PhDs because our people fought. It was like three blacks.
Hmm.
They were denied. Solomon Northrop was a free man. He was educated. Like I was so passionate, and I said he was
Yeah.
educated, and they enslaved him again. We have the opportunity to get education for free. It's afforded for us. We should go do it. Nobody did it but me.
See. Sometimes you gotta lead by
And that's
example.
Right, right.
okay.
So then I was like, okay, what I'm going to get my PhD in, like purely off of this inspiration from the movie. And I said, okay, it makes sense to get it in education, right? That's like the next step, I would think.
Hmm.
I kind of always liked to teach. When I was in grade school, I was like a tutor for the students. And so I always found myself teaching. So I thought education would be the nice route. So I had an advisor and at Clemson, and he was like, well, I don't have any funding for you. I didn't know how any of that worked because
Right.
I was on scholarship for my undergrad and my master's was paid for as well. So I had no idea. And unfortunately, I really didn't know the steps to figure that part out. So at Phi Kappa Phi, I can't remember her name. You may know her, Kyla, but she skinny, wore glasses. She was like mixed, very quiet to herself. I'm not sure if you'll place her, but she was getting honored. She was like, I said, I'm going to go my PhD, but I don't know about this funding. He asked me about this funding. I don't even know what to do. And so she was like, well, go talk to Juan Gilbert. He has all the money. Oh,
Wait. This is how you got introduced to Juan?
yeah.
Yes.
She was like, go talk to Juan Gilbert. He has all the money. That's exactly what she said.
That is hilarious.
And it was true.
So I
Yeah,
went to
she
Juan
didn't lie.
and I made an appointment out of the blue, and I went to go talk to him at Clemson, and I was like, yeah, just so green. I was like, yeah, I want to get my PhD in education, and I was told that to come talk to you, maybe you have funding for me, and yada yada yada. And he was like, I don't have funding. I said, okay.
Right. Not for education.
I was like, okay. And then like the next 45 minutes, we talked about basketball. And so,
Sounds right.
yeah. And so he was like,
Accurate.
why don't you, use technology, use computer science for sports? You can do that within Center computing. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so far removed from me because I was really in information technology and it really wasn't computer science. And he said I can merge the two, and my mind was just blown, right? So then that night, I sent him an email. It was like 2 a.m. And I was like, I thought about what you said, and I think I want to go that route of exploring how to merge athlete sports and technology. And then he was like, great, I got a meeting for you. So basically he had funding for me. So that's how that worked, right?
Nice.
So
he's like, if we can pivot it into my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
then
I don't have
it'll
money
work.
for you for that.
yeah,
But I got some for you for this.
yeah. So that's, I guess, the long answer to how I got interested in computer science and technology.
That's cool. That's really
Yeah.
cool.
That's amazing.
And then we made the great
And
migration.
then we
as
all
Jeremy likes to call
migrated
it.
to University of Florida,
Amen.
Yeah.
which was really, at the time for me, I know some of people in my lab were upset because they were, right about to graduate. For me, it was my first semester. I didn't even do a semester in my PhD studies at Clemson because
Wow.
we made the
So it was
announcement.
completely-
Yeah, and I was here. So I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
great, let's go. Yep. And then like a
That's
couple
really-
months later, my
that's
mom
nice.
followed. And she came down here
Aw.
too. So yeah, that was 2014, and it was good. It was an experience. One, it was kind of full circle for me too, because I found old letters of my great 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 grandmother. She was a slave, and I found letters which told me she was educated. Right. So
Wow.
yeah, that was huge. And then when I gave, like Jeremy alluded to, my graduation, so I'm kind of bouncing everywhere. When I gave my graduation speech, I had pictures of like Ruby Bridges and Leona Tate, who desegregated schools at that age. Did I lose? Are you guys, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of like full circle.
We're just very enthralled with the
Right.
conversation.
I'm
Yeah,
so
so-
sorry.
Probably look frozen, but we're listening.
So for when you say Great Migration, it was kind of like we desegregated the computer science department.
We really did. And
No
it was
comment.
not without those problems. It was not
No
without
comment.
similar issues.
Yeah,
Oh, you can comment.
yeah,
You can
yeah,
I'm
comment.
gonna sit over here in my civil
yeah.
engineering world
And
and
so it's so funny because
But
just
really,
Thanksgiving, I went down to New Orleans and I took a tour, my dad's side, and Leona Tate. I didn't know, I just didn't know, right? So Leona Tate with the McDonald 19, which is right in the lower north ninth ward. I didn't know. So
mhm.
she was in my graduation speech. And then Solomon Northrop was down there in Louisiana. I didn't know. And he was in my graduation speech. So
Wow.
all of this is kind of like, wow, just kind of
Wow.
connected in weird ways about this path
mm-hmm.
and education and desegregation. So that was what inspired me mostly, is just going after the highest level possible. And fortunately, I met Juan, and then computer science was it. And here we are at University of Florida making moves, right? So I was just happy
Yes.
Making
to be a
moves.
part of the move.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
I think about like how, for me, I got to see the whole process of you like trying to merge your interests
Yeah,
into the CS space. And like, I just remember us having a lot of conversations about like, this is really hard. Like,
yeah.
this is not like what I was trained to do. So could you talk about like how hard that was and like why you feel like it was difficult? Because you did okay with coursework, right? Like,
Um,
it wasn't necessarily
for the
bad.
help of my lab mates.
Hey, and that's
I mean,
important, right?
everybody just borrowed a
The
little
help
help
of
from
my
their
lab
friends.
mates,
That's
right?
That's real.
everybody.
So the lab was amazing. Not only like it provided community and support, but they really helped me with the coursework. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so grateful for that because I probably would have to repeat a couple of classes because my undergraduate was information technology. I don't know if I can stress that much, but that was out of the business school. So I didn't
Right.
Right.
have that
And it was like
background.
years
Years,
prior to
years,
Yeah.
you. You
years.
didn't go straight
I was
through.
in my teenage years, right? And so when I started my PhD, I was in my
Yes.
30s. So yeah, just and then the Masters of Science, it was more so like a cohort building programs more than classwork.
Hmm.
So when I came
Okay.
here,
Mm.
it was really like a reintroduction to class. And then, oh, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, it's computer science classes. Yeah,
Right.
so
And we assume you have a computer science
right.
undergrad
Right.
and you're
Yeah,
taking these
and so it was
classes.
the prayers of my mother, the faith that I could muster, and my lab mates that really helped me succeed. I'm forever
Yeah. What
grateful for
advice
that.
would you give somebody who's making that jump? Because we get a lot of applications from people who, are coming from a completely different field. And we always have to ask, okay, do we think that this person will be able to succeed in the graduate work? So if somebody, listening is thinking about making that switch in their graduate education, like what would you suggest rather other than like, having community and having people that they can go through the coursework with?
Yeah, I did a lot of outside education to help prepare
Hmm.
me for the courses. So there's a lot of opportunity to develop yourself, versus just taking the course and like I'm not prepared. One, I believe totally in faith and having confidence, but there's also that element where you have to do the work. So there were a lot of sleepless nights that I was just trying to figure out the basics of computer science that I didn't get, you know, um, but as well as, trying to submit a program for a class or something like that. So I would say definitely just try to prepare yourself as much as possible. Um, Connect yourself with people who are willing to help and take time. Because I had that. I had and going back to my lab mates, like they just took time, to kind of show me and teach me. And I had a bit of a complex because I guess I come from like an older student, so I was older than everybody in the lab. And I felt like I should know this stuff. I felt almost like,
Mm.
man, I'm older than everybody and I don't know anything, but they were so gracious and extended me a lot of grace. So I would say definitely prepare yourself as much as you can, and find people that can help you along the way, and just cold heart believe in yourself and you can do it.
I think it's hard to like accept, I don't know the things. And now
Yeah.
I have
Mm-hmm.
a literal child teaching me
Yeah.
the things. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
literally
It's
that's
like I had an
how it
apartment the
feels.
year you were born.
Yeah.
Sit down,
Right.
kid.
Right. Like
Yeah.
y'all weren't even driving yet. Like I don't even
Right.
understand how you're so
Mm-hmm.
like I think that it's really courageous to make the decision like as a whole adult with a retirement account to decide like I'm gonna go back to school
Mm-hmm.
To
Mm-hmm.
accept a life of
Mm-hmm.
poverty.
to accept a life of
Mm-hmm.
poverty
Oh
and to
yeah.
learn
Oh,
some
that now
things.
Yeah, it is
that
very
was very
humbling.
humbling because granted, I was, in industry, in a tech industry, making
Right.
six figures, dropping down to the the NSF fellowship, which, people think that's
Yeah.
like money, but
It's a lot of money. Yeah.
But when you be making money, you know
yeah,
what money
Right.
look
yeah,
like.
and to struggle in the fact of I got to make this work. So my main motivation was, I remember I told you guys I was not fulfilled in my job. So I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
there working in industry, just for the money, and so I was like, okay, I got laid off, which to me was a failure. Although in hindsight, it directed my steps, right? But I had the
Mhm.
motivation of I'm not about to mess up again, and so that was really driving me to succeed and to get A's in the class to pass. And thank God the quals was switched to a paper.
Yes. We worked so hard to get that quals
Oh my goodness.
changed.
I don't know if I would have made it if it was another way. But so the
I don't
paper,
know if I could have graded it. I'm like, this makes no sense.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, okay, speaking of degree requirements, we know you got your PhD. What were you researching so that the audience can know?
Um
Cuz I know.
my research area?
No,
Yeah.
like
Well,
what
your
did you do?
dissertation. Yeah.
Oh, so my dissertation, yes, my dissertation work, I was first working with Dr. Christina Gardner McCune in computer science education. And so we were doing a lot of research projects and a lot of outreach and research in computer science education. And so one Saturday, I just sat and did a mind map. And I drew myself in the center and I drew all these nodes, and everything just kept coming back to sports, coming back to sports, coming back to sports. So I ended up having a conversation with Juan, and I was like, I think I want to do athlete development, not necessarily sport performance, but taking inspiration from my perspective as a female athlete, because I didn't have that. I'm going to make it to the WNBA because the WNBA wasn't there yet, versus a male athlete who has the NBA or the NFL option. Their mindset is a little different. So when I was in college, I was like, I got to
Mhm.
find a major because I played overseas, but that I wasn't going back overseas. So I had already made that decision, like I
Mhm.
need to find a major. So fast forward to what I'm talking about now in terms of athlete development, I was like, I want to be able to help athletes realize that they are more than just an athlete and that there are other career options. So I did the research, and the research proved me right. Only 50% of male athletes who play football graduate, which is still blows my mind and is ridiculous because
50% graduate?
yes, less
Yeah.
than, I think it's like 46%. Yeah, on scholarship,
What?
right?
Like, why not just get a
Yeah,
degree? Like,
yeah.
I'm so confuzzled.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I was like, I want to direct my research into the development side, the holistic side of
How do they not like okay.
they
I'm
might go straight to the
some
league
of
in their
them.
third
okay, but that's
year.
not 50%, right? Like that's nowhere near
Yeah,
50% go to the
yeah,
league.
and some go to the combine and then just not come back to school. Some, if they
Wow.
just drop out and they don't finish, or they finish
Mhm.
and they're in their fifth year, but they don't have enough credits to graduate, and the
Mm.
funding. Yeah, it's just a whole lot of things
Interesting.
that
Yeah.
prevent it.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you for indulging me for a moment because
No,
I
yeah.
was
So
not connecting.
that research really moved me because from a female perspective, I like had to figure out what I was going to do after sport.
Yeah.
But from a male elite athlete perspective, no, they're going to the league. And we all know that less than 2%
Mm-hmm.
make it to the league. So
Right.
that's
Right.
when I became really passionate about that research. And, athletes are clustered. So they're just pigeonholed into a major because of the demands of the sport and practice and travel. And I don't think that's right. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that's fair. So I developed a system to bring awareness of the career options for athletes. And I did it in a way that spoke the athletic culture, that met them where they were. And in terms of, I had avatars in the system that said, hey, I went to the league, but now I'm a computer scientist. What you gonna do? Kind of thing. Or I had another avatar say, hey, I went to the league and now I'm in architecture, or now I'm a lawyer. So it presents different career opportunities to young athletes so they can go to the table knowing what to do after they finish playing sports. So that's where my research has landed me, and I haven't moved out of this space yet.
I love the
Love
fact
it.
that you address their identities because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize, that, growing up, I was like, I know I'm not playing nobody's sport to professional. But like for some people, like you said, they grow up and they just know, oh, I'm going to
Yeah.
make it to the league. This is my,
Yeah.
and then it's like, okay, well, what happens when that table's
Right.
ripped out from under, that tablecloth's ripped out from under you?
Right. Right.
It's hard to break mindsets, right?
Yeah.
That are
Yeah.
reinforced year after year after year, right? And so, like, imagine your whole life someone's been telling you, like,
Mm-hmm.
this is the trajectory you're on, this is where you're gonna go. Like, we don't really have that in other
Mm-hmm.
dimensions other
Mm-hmm.
than
Mm-hmm.
sports,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe music might be a close second,
Mm-hmm.
but like,
But so many
sports is
people can make it in music in so many
Mm-hmm.
ways.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right, right,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
it's really
and
cool.
then you have your family. Like if you flip it and like talk to some athletes, my family was depending on me to make it. They were
Mm-hmm.
depending on me,
Mm,
or I sent my scholarship checks back home to my family. I have to make it to the league to get my family out of it. So it's a lot of things that our males come up against more so than females, just because of the what they see on TV and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now the WNBA is starting to pay women a little bit more, but even when it
Yeah, women's
came,
soccer.
yeah, women's soccer, yeah,
right.
but I mean, so that's something that I'm really, really passionate about. Yeah.
I have this shirt on, this UF polo on from um, my time working in Juan Gilbert's lab,
See,
and Sanethia and I took an adventure up to Washington
yeah,
D.C.
yeah,
and got to hang out. I have a photo of us like together
yeah,
in like
Aw.
the convention center in DC,
yeah.
and wearing a brain computer
The
interface,
BCI
and we're talking to
device,
kids,
yeah,
yeah,
Oh, that's
about
yeah,
cool.
like a headset, talking to them about like our brain drone
right, right,
racing experience and
yeah,
things like that.
yeah.
So, did you like? Could you have imagined that these are the types of things that you would be doing, like as a student, as a
Yeah,
graduate student, like as a whole adult
right.
and a graduate student?
Right. No, I had no idea. And it's so cool. Like the brain drone race, that whole thing. What is it? The voting technology we got
Yeah.
experience to work
Mm-hmm.
on. Um, Project Hero, where we talked
Mm-hmm.
about how to reduce gun violence in school. I mean, I can keep going and keep naming different projects that I had the opportunity just to work on it a little bit, right? These projects are way bigger than me, way bigger than the lab. But just to have that opportunity to be a part of something of this magnitude, right? So at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of this, I said I wouldn't be who I am without my uncle Larry, but also Juan Gilbert, right? Because he gave me this opportunity. And for those that are listening, I'm sure you've heard his name before. mention on this
Yeah,
podcast,
we had a
but he is the man, right? So I want to
yeah,
reiterate
all roads lead back to Ron
everything that
Gilbert for a
they
lot of
said
guests.
because just the opportunity that he gives and the experience just being in that environment, working on things that are like on national level, which is it's really really cool. Yeah.
Right.
So how much did that like impact your decision to be instructional faculty when you
Oh,
were done?
that's
Because
a
you could have gone a number of different
that's
ways.
a great question. So one, I wasn't really interested in going back into industry because I've been there, done that, and I even was like, well, maybe it's different as a PhD. And then I had my internship at at Intel, and I was like, no, no, I'm not going back to industry. uh, it didn't even matter. Like the money didn't matter because I've already learned that lesson, right? So, um,
Yeah.
academia was the choice. I could have gone into a research lab, but um, I mentioned I was passionate just teaching. You know, even from a young child, I
Mm-hmm.
was a tutor and I always helped people. And so that's where I was like, I want to be in academia and I want to teach. I didn't have the opportunity to be a TA,
Mm-hmm.
which no, I
Really? I
didn't.
didn't realize
No, I
that.
didn't. I never was a TA. So um,
Me either, friend.
I
Me either.
I knew I wanted,
Lucky.
yeah, to go into academia, and I knew that I wanted to teach. I just didn't know if I was good at it. And so,
Girl, okay. Because you were teaching, right? Like you developed programs for
yeah,
kids.
yeah, yeah. I was teaching in different forms, and I even substituted a little bit. And I was teaching GRE courses. Oh, this is huge. I was teaching
Girl,
SAT prep and
you were
ACT
teaching.
prep.
You were
See, it's
teaching.
just in
Yeah,
you. It's
so I
just
was
in
doing
you.
all that. And so learning grad school is one thing, but then also understanding the opportunity that you have after grad school is something that's not really communicated. And so
Mm-hmm.
back to wine, he gave me the opportunity to be instructional teaching faculty, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And my first year, my first semester was horrible. I
It's like
cried,
that for a
I
lot of
cried,
us.
I cried, I
No, it's like
cried.
that for a lot of us. I still have anxiety from my first semester teaching.
But then,
Unanswered
oh
emails,
my
just dreaming
goodness,
of
oh
them.
my goodness, it was horrible. But then, like after the semesters, and I got better, and I got students to come back and say how much I have impacted their lives, and they got this opportunity
Aw.
because of what they learned in my class. And yeah, I'm like, this is where I'm
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be. So I am excited to be in this and honored to be even instructional teaching faculty at the University of Florida, which is so cool.
So the role transitioning from being a PhD student to now being on the faculty side, like, are there things that you are now aware of that you were not aware of as a student, or like what were some of the, you know,
Aha
eye-opening moments,
moments.
if you had any?
Um, well, I don't know, like if they were aha moments. It was more or less like, oh, people are still people.
Everybody in high
The
school,
people
if
are
you ask
people.
me, everybody is still in high school.
People are still people. Nothing has happened. I mean, I took this what a couple of year, 4 or 5 year break from working with people and come back at this level and like, yeah, people are people. But I
They
just,
still
I
peopling.
just, yeah, I just do my work. I just do my work.
Mm-hmm. You do more than you do more than your work though, because I was talking to you one day and you're like, yeah, so I have this really cool opportunity and I'm gonna create this code like hackathon situation
Yes.
and collaborating
Yeah,
with industry
yeah,
to put it. Girl, you doing more than
yeah,
what
Right.
you
She just
actually
put
supposed to do.
together this huge there was this poster celebration for the
yeah,
seniors that was last
yeah,
week,
yeah,
and like
See what I'm
you if
saying?
you look at
She's
the
doing all the
picture, there's
stuff.
just like mountains of people and their research and their work, and like this had
yeah,
not existed. Like
yeah.
you're doing more than just your work, like Jeremy
Yeah.
said.
So the hackathon came from Dean Abernathy. I was the advisor of Swamp Hacks. And so she was just like,
Hmm.
yeah, someone told me that you were the queen of hackathons. And I was like, what? I don't even really know what a hackathon is, lady. But anyway,
But when the
but
dean
the
asked
dean
you,
asked
yes,
you.
I am.
Yes, yes, I can do that. Yes. So yeah, the opportunity to work with IBM to create the university-wide hackathon, that was really good. And then we did it again last year or this year for the AI across the university. So Dean Abernathy was like, "Yeah, you should start your own company." And I'm actually thinking
I'm
about
telling
putting
you.
it out there. Hey, anybody need a hackathon organizer?
No, it's the truth. Like
Listen.
when we were doing the Nesbitt conference, like we had students organize, the hackathon, but like if you could just outsource it and say, here is amount, this is
Yep,
what we need.
yep,
Please make my
yep,
hackathon
yep,
like
yep, yep.
There are a
easily,
lot
because
of
it's stuff
places
that
who would
people
do it.
want, but they don't
Yeah.
have like the infrastructure or the
Yeah,
people or the resources or the cycles or whatever.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So
Especially if
my
it's like around different kind of topics.
right, right. Well, this past hackathon, I was excited. This is expanding computer science outside of the walls of computer science, so it was open to all students of all disciplines, but not just computer science students. So the first place winners were two physics students, which
I remember you
I
mentioned that, and
was
I was
Yeah.
like, please knock these computer scientists
yes,
down a
yeah.
peg. Y'all are
And
the only
one
ones that
one
can
is a
program.
Ronald E. McNair
That's
scholar.
true.
Okay, shout out to the
Yeah,
Ooh,
McNair
first
Scholarship
generation
absolutely.
Program.
college
Yes,
student.
Hey,
yes,
okay, so
yes.
anybody can do this.
Right, right.
Yes.
Um,
And Sanithia, can you describe what a hackathon is for people who
yeah.
haven't like participated in one
Sure.
or, just are
Yeah,
curious?
so hackathons really are based around some type of theme or some type of um, issue or problem or challenge statement. And students have a set amount of time to come up with a solution, a technology based solution around it. So usually hackathons are like 72 hours where students come in and they just try to program and build programs. They stay up all night and all day to try to hack a solution to the challenge statement that's given. And throughout the hackathon, there's opportunities for students really to ramp up on skills very quickly because we have different webinars and seminars that we offer. But it also is beneficial to the sponsors and those that are actually funding it because then you're able to see all different types of ideas and solutions that students come up with. So that, in a nutshell, is what a hackathon
Hmm.
is.
Yeah, and they
That
have
is really
food that they feed them because they're like there. They're like
the
they're
whole
They're
stuck.
time.
there. They're
I would
there.
need to leave and take a shower. I'm sorry. Like that's a lot.
I can't
Yeah,
do it. Hygiene is important. We would have toothbrushes. Like,
yeah,
here's go
Yeah, I
handle
have to
that.
sneak to the gym or something
yeah.
just to just get a
Go
shower,
handle
brush my
that.
teeth, come back.
Hmm.
Yeah, the
Amen.
winners is funny because they had the same clothes on that they did because they had to show a video and they had the same clothes on, and so they were just funny.
Oh my
It was
gosh.
just funny. Yeah, but yeah, students stay there and they bring their sleeping bags and their pillows and sleep for a couple of hours and get right back at it. But it's a lot of collaboration, and
Hmm.
which what we've done in the past too we've been intentional about bringing first time hackers in. We've been intentional about bringing non CS majors to show that computer science hits all disciplines and you don't necessarily have to be in computer science to collaborate with a computer scientist on your problem.
Hmm.
Have you done any research on the experiences of the students in the hackathon? Because I think that would be cool to have maybe a pre and post or something about like, and then just like kind of stratifying them by major, by level of experience,
Mm-hmm.
and like what they come in thinking versus like, I feel like the research on hackathons might not be very stealthy.
Yeah,
Like, I feel like there's something there because everybody knows hackathons to be like this sort of brute force boot camp way of like upskilling and getting something done really cool and
right.
looks good on your resume, but like we don't know what people gravitate towards it, what people don't,
Mm-hmm.
what makes them successful, what kind of teams
Yeah.
work well.
No, no, that's really good. The only thing that we don't have anything like official IRB approved or anything like that, but the only thing that we have is the surveys that we administer afterwards. But with all that being said, I do teach intro to software engineering. And I have adopted the hackathon format for my class. And I'm submitting a
Interesting.
paper on I can, how I built a curriculum around a hackathon for software engineering class.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That is
That's
really
a lot.
cool.
That sounds
So,
like a lot of fun.
um,
Is this a 6C oriented
yeah,
paper?
yeah, 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 yeah.
The special interest group on computer science
Mhm.
education.
Yes. We like to spell out the
Yeah.
acronyms.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. So, like, outside of, now you're computer science faculty, what else would you like people to know about you?
Um,
Like, you're more than just your degree, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 right. That's what I preach for students to to understand about themselves. What do I want people to know? Um,
mm-hmm.
I know what I want to
what's
know.
that?
I'm going to ask
Who
you
is
after you
Dr.
tell
Tech
us.
Thomas beyond
I
music?
mean, I think I'm just a cool, down to earth chick. I mean, I love sports, but that's in my research, so I can't say that. Um,
You love to
I love to
travel?
travel. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. In fact, in 2 days, I'm going to Cancun for a week.
I was going to say, you
Yeah,
believe in celebrating
I
yourself and having
do.
your me
You know what?
time. And
Yes,
yes.
That was
you've been everywhere.
inherited from my mother because our birthdays. My mom's birthday is October 31st, and my birthday is November 1st. And growing up in a Christian household, you don't celebrate Halloween. So,
Right.
everybody else was having these big parties. My mom was intentional about having big celebrations for my birthday. And so that
Oh,
just carried on. But yeah, I really
yeah.
I love to travel. I'm a foodie. I really like good
Same.
food. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, I really like good food. And I like to I love God, so I do. Faith is strong for me.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, what I want to
yeah,
know about Dr. Tech Thomas is where do you get your resilience from? Because
Oh.
you didn't touch on this in the podcast, but you had a lot of adversity during your PhD process and afterwards. And, like, I don't know about you. I would have just been like, look, I'm checking out of here.
yeah,
I'm going to go do something else. But, like,
yeah,
you can share what it is if you would like to, but
sure.
um, where does that come from? Like, that's not natural. Like, where does that
It's
come
Jesus.
from?
Yeah, so for those that are like, what is she talking about? So I've actually had a death in my family, in my immediate family, every year, and some years multiple deaths since 2015. So really quickly to go down the line. My aunt passed in 2015, my dad in 2016, my uncle in 2017. Remember I told you my mom was a baby of 10. Then my mom in 2018. In 2019, my godfather, his daughter, my god sister, and my brother Jason, who I grew up in, all passed away. And then my uncle in 2020. No, my grandmother in 2020 on my mom's birthday. And then my uncle in 2021. Wait, and then I had two uncles that passed this year, um, early on. And then my best friend, who we are celebrating, she was given 2 week notice in February, but she's still here. So we're thankful for
Yes.
that. But she's battling stage 5 cancer, and so yeah, it can weigh on you, right? Death, especially those that are your immediate family. When my mom passed, I was in the middle of my PhD. I had just proposed, or I think I proposed while she was sick. So that was a 2 year battle
Yeah.
of her being sick. So during that time, I proposed. But when she passed, I think I did all of that work in like a 9 month period. Like I just put my head down to the books because that's where I found my solace, in my place of peace, or I just kept myself busy, right, during that time. And I had this mountain of stuff to do to become a doctor, and so I did it, and I just put my head in the books, and I just plowed through it. I think my strength. Hey,
Amara has joined the
yes,
podcast.
my
Say hi.
hi, The beautiful dress I saw earlier. So my strength, it definitely comes from the faith that was grounded in me through my family. My family looks totally different now. So it once was really big. Now it's just a little family of three or four immediate, then I have cousins and stuff. But to be honest, like completely honest on the podcast, I kind of lost a little bit of myself, and lost a lot of my joy, and just trying to be intentional of doing things to help me bring my joy back, which is the travel, which is, I
Mm-hmm.
celebrate, do things as a celebration versus looking at like, oh, this is an anniversary of her death or anniversary of my brother's death. Woe was me, let me cry. No, I make it intentional, go to the beach and release some balloons. Or one year I bought like this whole table was filled with flowers, all different kinds of flowers to
Aw.
celebrate. Or I'll cook one of their favorite meals, right? So I try to be
Mm-hmm.
intentional in celebrating uh, versus saying, I'm so sad, it's, that time again. Although I do have those moments, right? Because those were back to back to back to back to back. And not
Yeah.
speaking about the pandemic, right? So
Right. We had a whole
whole
pandemic in the midst of
pandemic
all of
a
this.
part of that. But yeah, I just music really helped me through. My support of my friends really helped me through. Yeah.
Well, thank you for helping us. I know a lot of people go through challenges like this during their time, and
Yeah.
it's like you make the choice to act to like, look, I'm going to choose to be happy
Right.
throughout
You
all of
have to.
this, and
Yeah.
yeah, cool, cool. Well, let's see. Any other questions, Chair Bear? Are you
Sorry, my brain is blah because of the toddler. But I think that, you know, obviously being on the outside and watching you walk through what you've walked through, it's really encouraging to me, um, especially like in this season of my life where I'm going through,
Mhm.
some of these battles. And I
Yeah.
know like I have friends who are going through the same thing as well. Like you just happen to be in a very rigorous PhD intense environment
Mhm.
that probably amplified everything, right?
Mhm.
Um, but even still, like we all have different journeys that we take,
Yeah.
and watching people go through those things with grace, right? Like
yeah.
with confidence in things that aren't like ourselves,
Mhm.
because there's nothing. It's hard to
Yeah.
grasp things
Yeah.
once you're in that place. Um, to see that as an example is really encouraging.
Yeah. Good.
And so I just want you to know that I admire your
Oh,
strength,
thank you.
and I think that other people could really benefit from hearing your story,
Mhm.
because I know that I have. Right.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad that you brought that up, Kyla, because yeah, I mean we mentioned how strong you are,
Yeah.
like all of those things, but it's much deeper than just like,
Mhm.
oh, she went to a PhD program.
Oh,
Right.
Like,
It's
yeah.
like with
right? Like,
everything on her
Yeah.
shoulders, with the
Yeah.
world on her back.
Yeah.
yeah, and you
Yeah.
and you made it through, and I think that's also a thing to like share like with other people, is like
Mhm.
the circumstances of life are gonna
Oh,
happen,
absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
right? Like we're in the world, right?
Mhm.
Like everything is not forever,
Yeah.
and the best thing that we can do like is to do our best while we're here,
Mhm.
like put our efforts and energy into something that can actually make a positive
Right.
change. And
Right.
Yeah.
instead of like giving up, you took your passions and made it your work, your life's work,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Like not a lot of people can say that.
Yeah.
Some people, when they get tired of being at work,
Yeah.
they just say, I ain't going to work.
Right.
Yeah. I
And some
really.
of us have those
Yeah.
days,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still living off of the prayers of my mother, right? So just,
Mm-hmm.
pushing me, praying for me, not just my mom, but my whole family. Like, we alluded to at the beginning, we are definitely a strong family, value based. And so just knowing that it's unfortunate because a lot of times nowadays, a lot of people miss out on those values and morals
Mm-hmm.
that were,
Mm-hmm.
instilled back in the day. You and even like just
Definitely.
as simple as yes ma'am, no sir, like just that
Right.
level of respect, not saying that I have to say it, but now I choose to say it, yeah, if it's received, but it's just like that level of respect, like I respect you enough to respect you, right? And so sometimes it's
Yeah.
lost in our generation, but it's our responsibility to kind of rear and bring it back. And
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think you're doing that. And I love that, like, we have this community, right? Like at
Yes.
Florida, we're very blessed to
oh
have
my
like
goodness,
a
yes,
community of, especially us Black female faculty,
yeah,
whether
I'm
that's in
telling
computer
you.
science or just in the College of Engineering at large.
right,
Like we have that, and we can lean on each other when we go through
hmm hmm
whatever we go through, the ups and the downs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I've always been the only one, right? So like the only
Mm-hmm.
black, the
Yeah.
only this, the only that. So coming here and experiencing that definitely is hopefully life changing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially at this stage of the game where it's such a large institution, it
Yeah,
can, it can be very onlying,
yeah.
but we all come together and we shut everywhere down. Like we try to leave and we're like talking towards the door. We just make minimal progress. Like it's great. And we were just out this past
Mhm.
weekend, some of us, and I'm like, we need to do this like every
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
All we did was have,
Yeah.
we had brunch to celebrate,
yeah.
one member of our community, but it's just, we just need each other
hmm
like this.
hmm
I miss brunch. I'm still mad about that, but whatever.
Oh,
You
We'll
should
work it
go. That
out.
place
We'll
is
have
it
good.
was
some
That
good
place,
too. The
yeah,
food
parties.
was
that place
good.
was fire.
It was good.
Yeah,
We're okay. I'll ask
yeah.
offline.
Yes.
Those in Gainesville don't have it.
um, I know.
Yeah.
So, like, what else? You started Second Shot. Do you
Oh,
want to plug that?
sure. Yeah. So this is interesting. Um, Basically, it was birthed out of my dissertation work, and I make it the mission of the business to reach athletes to help them identify a career path, and then not only just identify a career path, but also offer a course trajectory, so suggested courses, suggested colleges that they can look into. And I'm so excited. I don't even know if I can mention this, but I will say nameless county in nameless state. Oh, is like just about to sign the contract for us to go into the school system, into
That is
Wow.
all
fire.
I mean,
That's
once you're in
of
the
this.
school system, you
awesome.
in.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I was like, I needed athletes succeeding in sport and life because the nonprofit arm that the school
Mm-hmm.
system more readily accepts. So I'm
Yeah.
super excited. That will be like the official business first contract launch, and
Yeah.
Yay.
Are
it's
you
it's
hiring
pretty
or
big.
are you doing this all yourself? I'm just saying, if you want to hire folks,
I
this
Yeah,
could be
once
an
this
avenue to
contract is
shine.
signed, I am gonna need to hire. But it's like
Yay.
five different schools in high school and middle school. And here's the thing. So there's no money. Well, there's not a lot of money when it comes to like middle school and high school, right? So the
Mm-hmm.
students are paying for it. The parents, maybe, if you have a wealthy family and they're already used to,
Mm-hmm.
but to be able to form the nonprofit and get grants and get sponsorships is where it's going to be funded. So for this um, superintendent to be really interested in this work, understood it. And so he's like, let's do it. And I'm excited about it. So I'm just waiting.
Oh, that's
Like
great.
we're almost there too. And
Yeah.
then I think
Yeah.
after that, it's just like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So
Yeah. You just have an excellent, excellent with X county of X
yeah.
city of X state, and then it'll start to get its own
Right,
momentum
right, right.
and carry on. That's awesome. Is there anywhere people can like find information about the programs, like a website or to donate,
Yeah.
things like
So
that, since you are a nonprofit?
mysecondshot.com.
Cool.
They can go on there.
And we'll put that in the show notes too. It'll be on the show notes under
Yeah,
the.
and
And
if
then
they want to even take so I created an assessment for athletes that's similar to Myers-Briggs or Strength Finder. And
Cool.
it's readily available if you wanted to take the assessment. So all of that can be found on my second shot.
Got it.
so how do people find and follow you?
Um, so I have to do better with social media, but you can find me on my Instagram at Dr. Tech Thomas and uh, Twitter at Sanethia Thomas, um, and LinkedIn also Sanethia Thomas. I probably need to
Cool.
standardize these once I
It's
start,
okay.
Eh,
getting there.
the
One
people
day.
looking for you will find
Yeah,
you. I'm pretty sure. Are you the only Sanethia
I
Thomas
think so.
when you look yourself up?
Yep.
They'll find you.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm. Well,
We'll also have those linked too.
Okay.
thank you so much for sharing your
Yes.
story with us.
Thank you for
Yes.
having
It
me.
means a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And this
that
is good.
it'll give people some hope and like a different path into tech that we haven't really talked about,
Hmm.
so
And a
I
different
love it.
usage of tech, like people
Mm-hmm.
who may not have envisioned themselves in this space to say, oh, wait a second,
Hmm.
you're like the perfect example of computer science plus X working
Yeah.
out, where they're like, oh, I have this interest in this other field. How do I use tech to
Right.
solve problems in that field? Like, this is a pure example of how that can be realized, and you can make a whole company out of it and get
Yeah.
contracts.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's not just this pie in the sky kind of
Right.
idea.
And you're never too old,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're never too old.
Yeah.
Right. You can change careers, you can change
Yes.
paths, you can have
Yes.
adversity, you can get through it.
Yeah.
Like you're like the just the showing of all of those different
Yeah.
kinds of
Yeah.
things. Like
Awesome. Thank you. No, thank you all for having me. I was like, yay, I get to be on Modern Figures podcast.
yay.
Yay.
Well, we're glad to have the platform to be able to share.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.